Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Empowered Presence podcast. I am Melanie L. Denny, personal branding consultant, and today we have a special guest. Okay, she is from the Caribbean. Hello. And we have matching glasses. Hey, anyway, got a little too excited. But Miss Keisha Allen-Smith is a stress management and energy guide. And she's here to talk to us about how we can start overcoming overwhelm and how we can navigate stress in our pursuit of success. And so we're going to talk all about the impact of overwhelm and stress and how that really, really impacts how we present ourselves professionally, right? How we show up. She's going to share her expertise on how we can focus on that physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being to really enhance our productivity and elevate our personal brands. So, a little bit about Keisha. She's a proud mother of two. She's an educator, she's an entrepreneur, she's an author, and an energy coach. I always have such phenomenal guests. I always have to rattle off all their titles. This is so awesome. Anyway, she's passionate about empowering women to optimize and design a life they love by being intentional about reducing stress, increasing their energy levels, and improving their physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. She was born and raised on the island of Bermuda and has delivered workshops to local and international audiences on stress management, trauma, mindfulness, growth mindset, energy healing. The list goes on, y'all. Okay, the list goes on. She is the author of 77 Ways to Reduce Stress and Energize Your Life, which is a guide that teaches people the importance of balancing their energy and helps them to really choose healthy habits to incorporate in their daily and weekly routines. She believes that making small changes in your daily habits can have a big impact on your well-being, and she lives by her beliefs and prioritizes her own self-care by regularly walking, doing yoga, meditating, connecting with nature, and spending time with friends and family. Amazing. Welcome, Keisha. How are you today?
Greetings and thank you for having me on your podcast. And I'm great. Today is a great day here in Bermuda. It's a little overcast, but still feeling good.
Awesome. Love it, love it, love it. I am so excited to be here today. And every time I look at you, I'm like, I got those glasses.
Yes. Such a coincidence.
Right? Oh my
Oh my
goodness. That's
God.
amazing. So I
Yes.
want to talk about this whole, concept of, dealing with stress and how that impacts our well-being, but also impacts how we show up, right? So we talk about building our personal brand.
Mhm.
Sometimes when we're stressed out, it's hard to like show up fully.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about your perspective on that and how we can manage that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, just even speaking from my own experiences, right? You kind of started off with things that I do, and I currently still have a full-time job. I work in education at a high school. I'm director of staff development and instruction. But on the side, I own a tutoring business as well as doing my stress management and energy coaching. And so I know what it means to kind of have a full load and stress, being stressed and how it can build. So being busy like that, I had to start to pay attention to myself and my needs and understand more about stress. And so when you're in that space and you're feeling overwhelmed, it can cause you to just be tired on a regular basis, right? It also affects your mental clarity and your focus. And if you're distracted and unable to focus, you cannot perform at your best. So your productivity levels decline, right? You're not able to show up for those you need to take care of, whether it be your family, your children, even aging parents at this stage in life. So, it definitely has an impact. And then when outside of our productivity, we have to also think about the impact that it has on our well-being, right? So what impact does it have on us physically, mentally, and emotionally? And so that's why I really, really feel it's important for people to understand stress, how it impacts them, and also begin to be intentional about doing things so that they can minimize the impact of stress.
Mm, interesting, interesting. So, I mean, on a practical level, right?
Hmm.
You're super busy. You wear all these different hats. I wear several
Hmm.
hats, and a lot of the women that I coach have several hats. The guests that I have on here, like I said in the beginning, I'm always rattling off all the things they got going on. And so when it's time to kind of do something, but you're exhausted,
Hmm.
how do you decide how to handle that? Is there some type of self-assessment that we should be doing?
Hmm.
Do we just say, I'm tired, I'm gonna sit down no matter what?
Yep,
Like, how
yep.
do we decide how to
So one thing for me, and I can speak for what works for me. First of all, a brain dump, right? So if I'm having one of those moments, first thing I do is sit down and kind of just write down everything that's on my mind. And from there, I then might look at, okay, well, what's in my circle of control and what's not.
Mm,
Aside from the brain, and that actually helps you get these thoughts out of your head, so it gives you a little more clarity. And then on top of that, I'm a list maker. So I'm constantly making lists to kind of organize myself, because once you start to get organized and manage your time, that helps to reduce the feeling of overwhelm that you have. And I promote practicing the 4Ds, right? So once I have my list, I look at it and I say, okay, what is it under that I can drop, right? What is it that I don't really have to do or get done today? Or sorry, that's not aligning with my goals. So if I'm thinking overall, what is it that I'm a part of? So at one point it was I was on all these committees, right? Just being involved, not saying no, right? And so I'm like, okay, what no longer aligns with my purpose or my brand or where I am right now? And I had to make the decision to drop some of those things to open up some space. And then what is it that I can delay? So that's the second D. So the 4Ds are drop, delay, delegate, and declutter. Okay. So what is it that I can delay? What doesn't have to be done right away? And then I look and say, what can I delegate? What can I get someone else to do? Whether it be someone else that I work with or within my business, or whether it be one of my children in my house to take off some of the lid of those things that we have to take care of as well. And then finally, I look at decluttering. So, what in my space is causing clutter and confusion, so that and it's preventing me from having clarity. And then I start to look at decluttering, and once I go through these things, then my list of what I have to do is shorter, and I have a little more space in my life to kind of take care of
mm,
myself and do what's important.
I love that. I love that we have a specific framework to go through to
Yeah,
assess and decide,
yeah.
because if we just go off a whim, like, "Ugh, I just really don't feel like doing this today, I'm not doing
Mhm.
it," but
Yeah.
it's a priority or it's something in alignment with where we want to go, or it's directly related to a specific goal, that wasn't the best decision.
Absolutely. And with that framework, what I love about it is that we can apply it both, in our work as well as in our daily life. Because, as women, there are some unspoken hidden stresses that we deal with, right? Outside of work, when we come home, we have that additional, I don't want to say burden, but it's almost like a second job. And we take on the small things like just dealing with the emotions of our children if we have children, or just trying to organize their schedules on top of our own, or even just being a chauffeur to all of their extracurricular activities. So, having these additional things on our plate, although they're small, they do cause stress in our lives. And so we have to look at what of those things that we can start to eliminate. One example for myself was just even the doing laundry, right? That takes time, that takes energy. And I got to a point where I was like, my children are old enough. I'm no longer doing laundry and I'm passing it on to them. And once I was able to do that, I bought back a few hours in my weekend that I could then apply to doing something else for myself, right? And so we have to really look at what can we drop, delay, delegate, and declutter because it helps
Hmm.
in those spaces.
I'm with you. I'm so with you on having these kids help out. Okay. And it, like you said, very little things that take up
Yeah.
minutes in the day that all add up. Like, for example, for me and my kids, I make their lunch every day. And when they
Mhm.
come home, I say, you know what? I'm done unpacking lunch boxes.
Yes.
Y'all need to get out here and clean out these lunch boxes. And
Yes.
and it got to the point where they just sometimes they would, and I'm like, I'm not cleaning out lunch boxes, guys. That
Mhm.
means if you have lunch from yesterday left over, whatever is in there gonna stay in there.
I
I'm gonna put
No, they have to learn these lessons, right? And it helps. And sometimes we know we just want to get things done, but it's to our own detriment. So, yes, we need to pass that on to them. It helps to make them more responsible and accountable, and it buys us some space, some time and
yes,
energy, and eliminates some stress.
yes. So what about, like, you mentioned about like the mental kind of invisible stress.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I was reading something last night. Was it in that book? I don't remember. I read something or saw something, and it was saying basically men, they do what they do. But
Hmm.
women, we do what we do, but we also are constantly thinking about what we have to do. Right?
Yes.
It's constant, like, okay, so okay, the kids I need to book their dentist appointment soon.
Hmm.
Okay, there's a field trip on Friday. I got to make sure I get the money that day. That, like, right,
Yep.
all these things constantly going in our mind, even work
Yes.
related
Yeah.
things. Oh,
Yeah.
I just signed a new client. Got to make sure I get prep for that first call. Like, all of these things are
Mhm.
constantly going in our mind. So how do we deal with that mental
Yes.
stress
Yes. So
that's not
absolutely.
necessarily tied to activity, but
Yes, because it's everything we're trying to keep track of, right? Again, I bring it back to the to making lists. And for myself, because I have so many hats that I wear, my agenda, and I still like to write. Some people, have their phones or devices, but I still like to write in an agenda. And I actually divide mine into four quadrants. One quadrant, the list is for my full-time job. One is for target learning, my tutoring business. One is for love and light empowerment, and one is just for my just personal self. And I write the list and I tick them off as I get things done. And it's something about there's check marks or crossing out and getting things done that also empowers and motivates us to keep going. And whatever doesn't get done, I just do a little arrow and it has to move on to the next day. But just getting it out of my head and onto paper helps to clear some space. And I also find that that works at night. So, before we go to sleep at night, sometimes you lay down and there's thoughts of what has to be done the next day or whatever's on your mind keep churning. And it might prevent you from falling off to sleep. I just keep a little journal beside my bed because if I find myself in that space, I can just quickly, again, brain dump, just jot it all down. And it really opens me up and allows me to clear that space and be able to go to sleep more easily. So I would definitely say making lists, again, decluttering helps because if your space is cluttered and messy, if your bag, your drawers, your closet, your desk, then 9 times out of 10, your brain or your mind is full of thoughts, right? And just cluttered. And so if we physically declutter, it helps us mentally. And then if we mentally declutter, it can also help us within our to become more organized in our physical space.
love that.
And one more tip I would add to that is mindfulness, right? And I practice mindful meditation on a regular business basis. And even if you think about mindfulness, right, you might have seen the memes where it says, is your mind full or are you mindful? Right. So we want to make it so that we're mindful and our mind isn't just full and cluttered. And so just taking time to pause, right, and just focus our attention on one thing, just sitting in stillness and silence. And maybe you're just focusing on your breath, or maybe you're just focusing on the sounds that you hear. Or if you're outdoors, maybe you're just focusing on what you see, but just taking time to be still, quiet yourself. We can't just, your mind might still go to different places, But if I'm focusing on what I hear and I'm sitting there and I'm focusing and I'm noticing what I hear, when I do realize that my mind is going all over the place, I have to just acknowledge that and bring myself back to my focus. And just that type of practice can help us mentally as well.
Love that. You know, I guess prior to listening to you, I never thought of our thoughts as taking up space,
Hmm.
because it's basically you're saying take it out of your mind and put it somewhere
Yeah.
else, in a
Yeah.
book, in a a notes app or
Hmm.
whatever, and now
Hmm.
that's free. I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
That's a different perspective for me, because it makes total sense too. So it's like I'm storing this information here. It needs to move so I can make space and free up space. So I love that. Yeah.
Absolutely, because you're really using up energy trying to remember what you have to do. And so then if you have it on paper and you kind of now know that now I can reference something, then it stops you from trying to just keep remembering. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about, like, when it comes to like showing up and building our brand, and that could
Mhm.
look like, like right now we're live, we're here, we kind of have to have a little energy to be able to be engaging and to talk and to chit chat.
Yes.
Or if it's, going to a meeting that you have to run at work and you're
Hmm.
exhausted and you don't feel like it, but you have to, right? So a lot of times I push through because sometimes I'm exhausted and I'm
Yeah.
like, whatever, I'm just gonna push through and find some energy from somewhere and
Hmm.
show up. What do you recommend in those times? Am I doing a good thing by pushing through and showing up anyway? Should I do
So,
something
so
different?
some things are just non-negotiable and we have to show up, right? But in there's spaces where we have some leeway. I would say sometimes you do have to just listen to your body and give it what it needs. But when we do have to show up, I would definitely recommend breath work. um,
Mm,
it's so powerful. Our breath is a tool that we really, really take for granted, and it's here
mm,
with us at all times, and it can be used to calm us or to energize us. Right? If you think about the breath, uh, it's the first thing you do when you come out of the room and you're born. The first thing you do is take a breath, and when we are transitioning, the last thing we do is exhale and release a breath, right? So it's really a life force energy inside us. And it can also be used for pain management because when we're getting ready to have our babies, what
mhm,
do they teach us in Lamar's class, right? They teach us breath work, breathing techniques to help to just minimize or get through the pain. So I say all that to say that breath work is really powerful. And so when it comes to your energy and stress and energy healing, when you want to calm your body, what you want to do when you're deep breathing is to make sure that your exhale is longer than your inhale. So if you're breathing in for say a count of one, then you're going to exhale for a count of two, or I call it 1 to 2 breathing. So inhale for a count of four, exhale for a count of eight. But on the flip side, and we're feeling drained and tired, and we're in that meeting, or we're about to go to that meeting, and we feel kind of drowsy, then we want to reverse it and we want to make our inhales longer than our exhales. So we're taking in more energy and releasing less. And so sit and do that for a few minutes, and it helps you to energize yourself. And then even just there are different physical activities where you can just start to swing your body from side to side to just build up some life force energy inside you. Um, Play some music that gets you going, or that you enjoy, because there's frequencies, the beats that is also going to energize you. So yeah, I would my go-to is always breath work in these moments, whether I want to calm myself or energize myself.
So I want to do something I've never done before on
Okay.
on the podcast today. Can you like walk us through some breath work for getting energy?
Yeah.
Just a very short thing. If you could like count us through, and I want everyone that can hear this, that's listening, that's viewing this, to try to do this in this moment, because
I
I feel
can.
like doing it is going to
Mhm.
really help to connect with what you're saying, because you're saying
Mhm.
it and it's like, okay, I get it, but like let's actually do the breathing. Can we
Yes,
do that?
we can do that. And I have one that can even one for stress release or tension release that can even that might be even better for us in this moment because I think most of us are feeling that stress and tension more than anything. But you let me know which one you prefer.
Whichever one you want to do.
Okay, let's do the
It's
tension release one because
Yeah.
it's breath work, but it's also physical, right?
Okay.
And so I want you all to just sit where you are. Take 3 deep breaths. So inhale for 4 and exhale for 8. And as you're doing it, I want you to just notice any feeling, let your arms drop beside you that you have in your shoulder area. And now, what I want you to do is take any arm, put your hand on your shoulder, right? And you're going to just brush down your arm over your thumb, and you're going to shake off that energy. And then you're gonna do it again. You can actually hold your arm down. I was holding mine out so you could see. Next, you're gonna come over your next finger, your pointer finger, and shake it off. And then you're gonna come over your middle finger, shake it off. I want you to come down your ring finger, shake it off. Back on your shoulder, come down your pinky finger, shake it off. And now you're going to do it again, and you're going to come down your whole hand, shake it off, and do this 3 times in total. Your whole hand, shake it off, and then your whole hand again, shake it off. And now I want you to sit and drop your arms again, and notice if one side feels different from the other. Do you feel a difference, Mal?
This arm definitely feels different. Like the shoulder area
Uh huh.
feels
Yeah.
different. I don't know what it is.
It should feel a little lighter. It should feel lighter than the other side.
I don't
And
know.
then and then you could go ahead and then do the other side as I continue to talk. But that is just a tension release exercise that you can do anytime. I recommend people to do it before they go to bed at night, or if you're just in the office or at work or anywhere and you're just feeling tense in your shoulder area, then you can do that exercise just to help to release your tension. Okay. And so that's an energy release exercise. I don't want you to
Mm.
stay feeling lopsided soon. Yup. And then for the breathing, if you want to do the energized one as well, we can do that.
Okay, let's do that real quick.
Yep. So I invite you to close your eyes. Just notice your breathing pattern. Notice if your breaths are shallow, if they're deep, if they're short, if they're quick. And now I want you to inhale for a count of 4, 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 2. Inhale for 4 and exhale for 2. Inhale for 4 and exhale for 2. And now we're going to do what you call fire breathing, where you just going to take quick inhales and exhale. So, sorry, you're going to take a longer inhale and you're going to exhale quickly. So, inhaling. And then that will help to build up some energy within your body.
Mm.
Yeah.
Love
You
that.
should feel a little heat as well.
Y'all
Yeah.
didn't know y'all was gonna do breath work in this episode. Y'all didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know.
Yes, but
Wow.
again, our breath is definitely a tool that we carry with us at all times, and we need to use it to our
Yeah,
benefit because we were
definitely.
created with that in mind.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So let me ask you this, because sometimes, we're dealing with challenging situations, at work, with clients, in our business, at home, whatever. What do we do in the moment when we're getting pissed off, like getting really upset, very
Mm.
angry, right? How do we deal with that? Any tips around managing that? Because we don't want to blow up on our boss, right? We don't want to lash out at the kids. We don't
Hmm.
want to cuss out the clients, even though that's all that we feel like doing at that time. So how can we manage that? You feeling that intense emotion?
Yeah. Definitely, we have to know ourselves, and everybody's response system is different. So we have to know our triggers. We have to know the signs and signals that our body gives us. And so it could be a trembling, it could be a heat sensation within you. You have to first know yourself, know when you get into that point, and then know how best it is for you to react. Now, if you are someone who practices breath work on a regular basis and you know that just taking those deep breaths can calm you in the moment, then I would recommend that. Some people might know themselves and say, hey, it's best for me to just remove myself from this situation, right? But again, it's knowing what what your body signals are so that you know when you have to step away or take some steps. Yeah, it's really about knowing yourself. And then also, the more you practice mindfulness, the more your body has a more natural way to stay calm. So what mindfulness does, it equips you with the tools or the presence so that you are able to pause and choose how to respond in the moment instead of reacting. Because a lot of
Mm,
times when we just pop off and react, it leads to a situation that we're going to regret in the long run. But if you start to build within yourself that sense and spirit of calm, then yes, you're going to feel those emotions, but you're going to be able to identify them and give yourself what you need in that situation to be able to respond to the situation instead of
mhm.
reacting.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
So, talk to me a little bit about your own personal journey. Is
Hmm.
there anything that you experienced that led you to start to do this work?
Hmm. It's funny because it's a combination of experiences over time, and when they happened in certain moments, I didn't realize where they were leading me. So even just going back to when I left high school in Bermuda, when I graduated, we would graduate at the age of 16. And so it was common for, people to go overseas and go to maybe a prep school or a boarding school before going off to college. And so I went, and we don't have a 4-year college in Bermuda, so we have to travel overseas back then. And I actually went to a Quaker school, and one thing that they practice is what you call meeting for worship. And so several times through the week, we will go through the whole and have meeting for worship. And in their sessions, you just sit in complete silence. And if you were moved to say anything, you could just get up and speak. And so that was probably my first introduction to just sitting in stillness, right? And in silence. And so then just fast forward, life starts to happen, right? You become a parent. you I of course started my work in education, so I was a teacher. I taught middle school, I've taught primary school, and I always say teaching is one of the most stressful jobs out there, right? If a doctor or a
Mhm.
lawyer had to deal with 20 clients at the same time, I don't know if they would manage. And as teachers, we have a cohort of students in front of us all day. We have to manage behaviors, impart knowledge, deal with their emotions, and all of the rest. And then I will come home to my own children, and you just feel it. Maybe my son would do something small, slight, and I would react in a way that afterwards I was like, he did not deserve that. That was
Mm.
definitely a result of my stress and my days. Anyway, fast forward to that, so experiencing that and then becoming an entrepreneur on top of things. And then I landed myself in the position of that I'm in now, where I'm tasked with doing professional development for teachers or for educators on a whole. And one day I just said, you know what, I'm gonna try something different. And instead of doing a workshop on just say teaching strategies or classroom management and things, education or behavior related, I decided I'm going to do a workshop on stress management, on wellness, right? Because that's the other part of my life that I'm passionate about, and was doing it more so on a personal practice. And when I did that, the response was overwhelmingly amazing, where it was the feedback, it was exactly what they needed. They wanted more. And so I just continued to offer this type of workshops. And it just grew from there because it was a need and because it was so well received.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny because last week's guest had a story about being a teacher.
Mm.
And I have one of my mentees or old mentees. She was a teacher and she, transitioned out. And now she helps teachers transition out because it's just so much.
Hmm.
And where they're grossly underpaid to
Yeah.
have to deal with all that they have to deal with. And it's really interesting how much this has been coming up for,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
teacher thing. It's been a big, big thing lately.
It's very true. And even, my children are 9 years apart, but once I had my daughter, I actually left education fully and worked in corporate banking for 4 years. Um, but sometimes it takes you to step away to realize where your passion really lies. So when I did come back into education, I came back into the position where I was working more with the adults. But yeah, it's definitely an underpaid and underappreciated job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
So when it comes to like, reaching our goals or, we want to build a personal brand and we want to show up and we want to be visible, we want all these things, but we're stressed out. It's
Hmm.
hard. How would you advise someone in terms of how to keep going, even
Yes.
though it's hard?
Yeah, yeah. The secret lies within our daily habits, right? Our daily and weekly habits. It's the small changes and the consistencies that really help us to get there. And so, in my book, I teach about my energy formula. And so, with energy, it's an acronym, right? So, ENERGY. And the first E is for exercise. The N is for nature. Second E is for eating well. The R is for rest and relaxation. G, ground and get your mind right. And the Y is you come first. And so
Mm,
I encourage people to create their own energy formula. So, first of all, just building in some type of exercise routine, picking something that is accessible to you and something that you enjoy doing. Because if I was to say, okay, I'm going to get up and run 2 miles every day, reality is the knees are gonna be swollen, and I'm probably gonna do it twice, and yeah, I'm not gonna continue, right? So you want to just pick something that you can be consistent with and that you enjoy doing, but definitely incorporate exercise and movement into your life at least 4 to 5 times a week. And that, of course, is going to help you with managing stress and also just creating energy and helping you to feel a little more healthier. And then nature, right? You want to connect with nature as much as you can. And so you can also, as I go through these, you'll see how you can combine them. But if you do something as simple as walking, and that's what I promote the most as a baseline because it is accessible to most people. But if you can get out and walk in nature on a regular basis, get outside 15 minutes a day at least, and just soak up some vitamin D, just appreciate your surroundings. Watch a sunset. That would definitely help you. Um, and if you are in a climate where you can't really get outside, just bring nature inside. Start, and I see you got a plant behind you. Bring some plants into your home, right? Because then that helps to just shift the energy in your space a bit. Eat well. Now, we can go into a whole lot about eating, but at a baseline, I encourage people to eat the rainbow as much as possible. So that would be your fruits and vegetables that are the colors of the rainbow, because those give you the natural vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that your body needs. So, at your lunch and dinner, if at least half of your plate could be the colors of the rainbow, then go for that. And then also look at your water intake. So how much water are you drinking? Can we up that a bit, because we all know that our bodies need the water to thrive and survive. If you think about this, plants, right, when they're wilting or they look like they're dying, are you going to pour coffee into that plant? Are you going to give it a Coke soda, right? So why do we do that to ourselves, right? When we reach 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon and we're feeling down, why are we reaching for these things to up ourselves, right? We wouldn't do it to our plants. So why do we do it to ourselves? So really look at how much water we're consuming. um, Rest and relaxation. And again, these are all just simple tweaks we can make in our lives on a daily basis. But just looking at your rest, right? Not only are we looking at the amount of hours we get to sleep, but what's the quality of our sleep? Are we sleeping with the television on, or do we have sound in the background and light emitting? Because the research shows that you get your best sleep and your body's able to rejuvenate itself when you're sleeping in total darkness and total silence. So, looking at our quality of sleep, just building in times through the day, right? I call them 2-minute vacations. Take 2 minutes here and there throughout your day where you can just pause and breathe, do some deep breathing, right? Just periodically throughout the day. G, right? We want to ground ourselves and get our minds right. And this is where we would incorporate that mental work, where we look at our mindfulness or our list making to get organized, or our decluttering, right? So we can get some mental clarity and just grounding ourselves. Um, I always use the analogy, I live on an island, we get hit by hurricanes, and after the hurricanes pass, normally the trees that are still standing are the ones that have the deepest roots and are well grounded,
Mm.
because the ones who don't are the ones that end up toppling over. And we're kind of the same way, right? The more grounded we are when there's stresses hit, because we can't always control what trauma and stress happens in our lives. Our resilience is better if we're grounded and we're able to come back, to an upright position. Um, and why? The last one, you come first. So we have to put ourselves first. If we want to be able to show up for our brand, show up for our families, show up for our business, we have to start to put ourselves first. And we can do this by I call it a power half hour, but whatever time of day works for you. For me, it's my magic mornings. So I just take time in the morning to do the things that I need to nourish myself. And it's so important, right? For me, movement and meditation are key. Within that, meditation also comes, just giving my gratitude or my prayer, so that I can start my day in a grounded and a place that I'm setting intentions and being ready for the day. But if for some people, it might be at nighttime that we kind of prioritize our self care, or midday. But just create some time in your day for yourself. If it can't be a half hour, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but start somewhere to just begin to learn how to prioritize yourself. And so, yeah, that's it. Exercise, connecting with nature, eating well, resting, getting your rest and relaxation in there, grounding and getting your mind right, and then you come first. Prioritize yourself. I think if you start to do these things, create your own energy formula, then over time, you will be better prepared to navigate and manage the stress and overwhelm within your life, and also just improve your well being on a whole.
Wow, so many gems, so many gems. First of all, you talked about the plant. Child, plants come home with me to die. Okay. I am not the plant mom. My plants never thrive. I'm just horrible at somehow taking care of my thumb is nowhere near green. That baby is not a real plant. Okay.
Okay.
But I just want to throw that out there. I didn't want to be deceitful.
Understand, but hey, it still brings that aspect of nature into your space.
Yes, absolutely.
But
I
keep
love
trying
how
with this real plant babies.
well,
Keep trying.
my kids and their dad love it. They have plants in the back and stuff that they water every 2 days or whatever. So that's not really my strength.
Yeah.
But here's another question I have for you regarding rest. You talked about rest and the quality of rest. And I
Mhm.
feel like no matter what, I am always tired, meaning I wake up tired. Some people wake up and they're like, so refreshed.
Yes.
Never me. What
Mhm.
am I doing wrong?
Well, I can't speak to that because I'm not sure what you're doing on a daily basis, but you know, magnesium helps, right? They
Okay.
say magnesium definitely helps with your quality of rest. Sometimes we just get to that age. I don't know what age you are, but there might be some hormonal factors in there that are impacting our quality of rest. And then again, what's on your mind, right? Is there a lot circling in your head, things that you are unconsciously or subconsciously thinking about, or just going on in your mind? You may have to address that as well, and have a create a nighttime routine for yourself. For me, it's my nurturing night. So I've always had a morning routine, but over the last year, I have started to incorporate my nurturing night. So for me, it's some yoga because that allows me to just release, not active yoga, but more so where I'm just holding certain positions to stretch and release my body. Play some calm music that you might like, turn off devices ahead of time before you go to sleep, because all of that is definitely activating your body's stress response system, whether you're playing a game, watching TV, and unconsciously responding to the things that are happening in the show. So you want to kind of shut down a little earlier before you lay down to sleep. Um, yeah, really, really start to think about, okay, what is it that I can do at night to kind of create a routine? Journaling to get some of those thoughts out of your head. So tap into yourself, stop and think about, okay, what do I do? What does my regular day look like? What are my normal things that I do before it's time to go to sleep? And how can I shift this to become a little more relaxing or slower activities before it's time to go to bed? And see if that works. Try some
Okay.
magnesium. Yeah.
Yeah, I jot down some of that stuff. These are really good tips. I want to talk a little bit about the devices because as powerful women that are really doing things and we bosses and with this and with that, we're always
Hmm.
connected. And
Yes.
so when it comes to that cell phone, baby, like we have to learn how to put it down and
Hmm.
turn it off or airplane mode or something because I
Yeah.
definitely think that's a big part of a lot of the stressor because we don't turn off anymore. Like
We
before
don't.
back in the day, you weren't connected as much.
Yes.
Now constant connection to work and
Hmm.
emails and texts and all these things going on that you kind of still have to manage.
Yep. All day long, right? And it's so true. And our body reacts to that, right? So we have that
Mhm.
stress response system, and our sympathetic nervous system, unfortunately, it's seems to be constantly activated in this day and age. If
Mm.
you wake up to an alarm clock, you are waking up and immediately activating your stress response system because that startles you out of your sleep. And so your response system is activated. And as you go through your day, if you're trying to get the children up and dressed and out of the house, you're rushing them, you get in traffic, all day you're going. And like you said, right down until it's time to go to bed, email might pop up that's kind of now you're thinking about that, or it's a fire you have to put out the next morning, then that's on your mind. And so all day long we're operating in stress mode, and it's
Mhm.
become the norm for us where we don't even realize that that's what we're doing. And that's why I say it's so important to do things that activate our parasympathetic nervous system, because that's what helps to kind of calm our nervous system. I call it pumping our brakes. So I equate the sympathetic nervous system to the accelerator when you're driving a car, and the parasympathetic is when we're pumping our brakes. So again, I'll come back to just building in there. There's 2-minute vacations where you are taking time to just do some deep breathing periodically through the day. Just take yourself outside, and even if you stand outside in nature for 10 minutes or go for a short walk, that's helping to release. If you have a little morning routine, that helps to just nurture your body and calm your system. You really, really have to be intentional about the small things we do during our day. Choose that cup of water instead of that cup of coffee, because that's going to spike you some more as well. But it's also going to bring you a decline or a drop as well. Be
Mhm.
conscious and mindful of the foods that we're putting in our body, because that also affects us. So we really have to do a self audit. And I have an energy audit, a free energy audit on my link tree, which you can do to kind of assess yourself and realize what areas of your life are you kind of draining the most. Is it your physical body? Is it your mental? Is it your emotional? Is it your spiritual? And from that audit, you can see which areas, it could be one or two, it could be all of them, that you are really draining your energy levels, and having the most stress. And then there on the link tree as well, there's also a guide, a PDF of energy deposit ideas, and that has some ideas for each area that you can start to do and incorporate in your life that's going to help you in those spaces.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yo, if y'all are anything like me, like you need to get download each and everything that this woman is talking about, because I'm constantly on the go. My brain is constantly going, and a lot of the things that you hit on are just so spot on.
Mm-hmm.
The I don't wake up to an alarm, but it's a stress. It's a okay,
Mm-hmm.
kids, school, lunch, okay, work, calls, this, that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just constant. And so definitely carving out that time for me to really, like that tree analogy you gave, where the trees that stand the storm
Mm-hmm.
are the ones that are most grounded. I
Yeah.
love that. I
Yeah.
need to get more ground. I need to get serious
Yes.
about my energy. Seriously, this conversation was much needed and very timely for me. And so I
Yeah.
appreciate all that you have shared today, down to the breathing exercises and all the tips, the 4Ds. Yo, if you're just now, joining on our live stream, you need to go back, because Miss Keisha has been dropping gems when it comes to dealing with overwhelm and stress, because at the end of the day, we're all constantly going, and we are stressed. And
Yeah.
so how do we move from operating in a, like she said, a constant state of stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're in a constant, from the time we wake up, we're in a stress response
Yeah.
mode. That can't be good. I feel
Not
like
at
that's shaving some years off.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And life wasn't meant to be lived like this, but that's where we are. And so we have to be intentional about doing things to mitigate the impact that that stress is having, and also eliminate some of the stresses that that we have, as much
Yes,
as we
love that.
can, you know. Yeah.
So how can folks like work with you? Do you offer coaching? Like what do you offer that we can
Yeah.
take advantage of?
Yes. So, firstly, you can get my book, which is 77 Ways to Reduce Stress and Energize Your Life. And that's on sale on Amazon. You can also check out my link tree. I do have a few online courses, and I will be launching one next month. So, please join our mailing list, and you can definitely get some more information about that course that will be coming out. And my Instagram is Keisha Empowers. And then you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook at under Keisha Allen-Smith. Yep.
Wonderful. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much
You're welcome.
for
And thank
joining
you for
us.
having me, Melanie.
Yes, all the
Excited to
way
be
from
here.
Bermuda.
Yes, and I think
Okay.
it was definitely alignment and connection when we realized we had the same glasses.
Right? It's red glasses day.
Yup.
Yeah, this is amazing. I'm so glad that we were able to connect. I'm definitely going to
Me as
be
well.
taking advantage of some of these things you're offering because,
Yes,
baby.
definitely start with the free downloads and yeah. The book I
Okay.
will say, and this is something else I just want to add. The book
Yes.
includes it's an energy guide and habit tracker. So I'm very big on helping people with supporting them with accountability and consistency. And so includes a 52-week habit tracker where you create your own energy formula, but then you're tracking yourself to see, how much you are implementing things. And I always tell people, it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. So if you do fall off, give yourself grace, but just start again and keep going. And so, yeah, make some small changes, start small, and be consistent.
Love that. It's not about
Yes.
perfection. I preach that message all the time. It's not
Yeah.
about perfection. Perfection does not exist.
No.
You're chasing something you will never achieve.
So true.
Like, stop.
Yes.
Well, thank you again. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to support Empowered Presence Podcast, just subscribe, leave us a rating, leave us a review. You can join our subscriber list so you know when new episodes are out and really just support, right? Share it with your friends because I think there's a lot of valuable information that's being shared that will definitely help you to move forward. It's about building your visibility. It's about being authentic. It's about really showing up for yourself so that you can reach the goals that you want to reach. And so, if you were inspired today, I would love if you would share this out with your friends, your family, your colleagues, whoever you feel may benefit from the message today. And so remember, empowered is the authority or power to do something. Presence is the state effect of being. So we all have an empowered presence. We all have the power to do something. And it's about who we are. So I'll catch y'all next time. Happy self marketing.